All right, so we have our model in here. Just to show you something, I did actually go through, and you can rename it here. You could right click and rename each object if you want. I actually just went into Maya, renamed them all, each piece, because it was just quicker and easier that way than having to right click each time for each one of these. Although I guess I clicked on here. I don't know. I just did it that way and then re-exported it out. Just so you where you could do that as well. And I would, just because it makes it a little bit easier. And you'll see as you sculpt, see how it says boots. If I start going like this, see how I'll say shirt, it'll automatically switch between them, but it is a little bit easier to know which one you're working on if they are named. So I suggest doing that. The next thing I want to do is this. I'm going to hit W to get rid of wireframe. That's not really helpful. I'm going to get rid of this grid. I'm just going to go to display and turn the grid off. I don't find that particularly useful. If you find, see how this is highlighted yellow? So if I'm just going to go to object list, I'm just going to control and click to unselect. So now nothing is selected. That way it's not highlighted. So if you find that's annoying, just go ahead and do that. The next thing I want to do is actually I'm going to bring an image in, because that'll make it a little bit easier if I just have the image somewhere in order to work with. I didn't really bother doing it last time, but because it's hard to do real like image planes in here, although it is possible. But it's not, it doesn't work well with sculpting. You're better off doing it more by feel, to be honest. But anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a camera. You're going to see it's going to make a camera here, and we'll just call this the, let's call it camera 1. We don't really need a name, but if you want to name it, you can name it. But if I go underneath that camera, and you can see you can change all the settings here. So I could make it an orthographic, and you could change the field of view. Oh, you know why that's not working? Because we made a camera, but we have to look through it. So you got to right click and go look through. Let's make sure, and then make sure I turn off. Okay, we'll just take the field of view back down. What was the default? 20. We'll just copy that. Control C and Control V. Okay. Oops. All right. So just to make sure it's the regular field of view. Okay, so you just right click and look through, which is fine, and you can make some adjustments and things here. Now we are looking through that camera. But unlike these ones, which, oh, this does have an image plane on it. All right, well, the perspective one does, oh, I'm going to put it there. Anyway, we'll put it here. Did that earlier, it wasn't there. So anyway, we're going to go to image plane, and we're going to go ahead and import, and then I can select the various pictures, okay? And you can see we could also attach them to the other ones if you would like. I'm not going to worry as much, because otherwise what I have to do is I have to keep going through and selecting them, and that just makes it a little more difficult. So I am going to look for kind of a good, we'll use this one, we will open, and now I have that image plane here. Now you'll notice when I zoom in and out, it doesn't seem like it's really working well. So what we're going to do is click back on the image plane, and then we can make some adjustments here. So I'm going to take the depth, and if I push it out, you're going to see it's going to push it behind my guy. And I'm also going to go to the transformation here, and then we can adjust the scale and all that stuff. So for this, see, I don't see, look at it's, see, it's better if it was 1 by 1. We can scale it. So let's move it to the side. So let's think about this math-wise. So it's like 1.5. So if we did, let's say 0.5. Let's do this one as, let's do this as 1. Yeah, because that way it's the full size of the thing. And if that was 1.5, would that be 0.75? Is that right? By, well, this doesn't really matter because there is no depth to it, but 0.75. Then I just want to move it over. So I'll be X, Y, Z. So let's just move it over. Let's say 5. That was way too much. Let's say 1. Let's do, he looks squished. I don't think I did the math right there. Let's do -1. I'd rather have it on the left here. Just makes it a little bit easier. And that way the image is just always there while I'm working, and I can kind of use it as a reference. It's a little bit easier. I'm going to adjust this a little bit more. So he has 2 squats. So let's try 0.65. That looks more accurate. I would have to do the math on that. Now he looks too thin. I don't know. But anyway, so there we go. We got that. That looks a little bit better. And now we're going to kind of go through and work through the modeling here. So what I would suggest, generally speaking, is this. I like to just use the grab, and I'm just going to try, and you can even put him over top of this guy to kind of see, like, okay, proportionately, how far off is he? And you see he's pretty okay. What I'm going to do is just go through and make some general adjustments. So I generally like to use grab for a lot of this. So I'm just going to go B, a little bit bigger. And the nice thing is, I'm going to minimize this. The nice thing is that the adjustments should generally work. So what I'm going to do is we'll leave it on object list, but you have to click on it, at least initially, and then you'll see that now that is the one that's selected. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit Shift D to subdivide, and we'll just get to probably a 1 value is fine. I'm just going to click on this one, hit Shift D, and I'm just going to go ahead and put everything as Shift D, and then we'll click on this one, Shift D. Oh, let's make this a little bit smaller. Shift D, there we go. And just so that everything is subdivided one level. I think that's everything, right? Yeah, I'm not worried about the eyes and stuff. So some other things that I don't want to deal with are the eyes. I don't want the eyes to actually get accidentally sculpted on, because that looks weird. So you can actually lock those. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go down here, and I'm going to look for the eyeball. And then you can see there's a little lock right here. You can also turn the visibility off by doing that. So if you wanted them off, but I'm just going to go ahead and lock both of these. And that way I don't accidentally sculpt them. And you might find that helpful for when you're doing some things. So for instance, I'm going to go ahead and where I have the shirt, where are you, shirt, belt loop, belt loop, belt loop, belt loop, shirt. I'm going to turn that off for now, because it'll be a little bit easier for me to make some adjustments without having that on there. So I'm just going to look at this and look at this guy, and let's see. So I'm looking, and I think maybe you know, his trapezius back here could be a little bit more robust. So let's make this a little bit bigger. And I'm just going to kind of pull this up, and I'm just going to make some general adjustments. Let's see. And I think this maybe could go in a little bit. It's got a little bit of, go like that, I think looks a little bit better. His sides, this part should go in just a little bit, I think. Not too crazy. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of basically make some general adjustments. I noticed his forearms were not thick enough. Some of it's going to be easier to actually just do through either the regular sculpt or the bulge. Where's bulge? Right here. I like to do bulge most of the time for adding girth, if you recall. I'm just going to make that a little bit lighter. So remember, it's B and M for the size. Make sure also you have on mirror X so that you're doing it on both sides. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and add a little bit of bulge. Like his shoulders need a little bit more bulge, I felt like, and maybe a little bit more here. And then his legs actually are not too, generally kind of thinner. So I'm actually going to hold control, which will do the opposite. It'll slightly lose volume. And I think most of his general adjustments are not too awful bad. So we'll go back a little bit here, right? And let me go here, and I'm just going to kind of tighten up some of these. I'm going to go regular sculpt, and that is way strong. So B and M, and let's make that a little bit smaller still. And I'm just going to make sure that and then hold Shift to smooth. Just want to make, that was a little bit too far over. Just want to try and make his head a little bit more square. He's got a bit of a squareness to his head, and his brow's got to be a bit stronger as well. So I'm just going to make some general adjustments here. Nothing too crazy, because a little bit here more, and definitely a stronger jawline. Right, so we'll just kind of smooth that out afterwards. Okay, and say that for now. So I'm not going to get, looks like his neck's a little bit thinner, so I need to bring that in a little bit as well. That's actually going to be easier with grab. So I'm just going to basically try to get the proportions closer. I'm not thinking about really musculature, although obviously the musculature does affect it. Like I made these a little bit wider and stuff. But I'm not thinking as much about that aspect of it as I'm just thinking about the proportions. So it's going to be a lot easier to make adjustments at this level than it's going to be to make them when you are more subdivided. So really at this point, what I want you to do is just use the draw, the bulge, and the grab. And maybe relax if you got areas that are like overly pinched. And just make some general adjustments, and you can just hold them over the guy and try to see if, you know, they're generally proportioned correctly. And you can see my guy is pretty okay. Let's say his head feels a little bit small, but I think it's just because his head's tilted down and he's got hair, so that's probably adding a bit to it. All right, so something like that. His pants are also a little bit higher. He's got mom jeans. Okay. So just make some of those general adjustments just to try and get proportionate by using those things. The next one, what we'll do is we'll just kind of do a little bit later.